We were raised to believe that kindness is its own reward, a pure expression of the human spirit that makes us better, happier, and more connected. But there is a disturbing psychological loophole that turns the most compassionate people into their own worst enemies. It's called pathological altruism. And it occurs when the biological high of helping others overrides the survival instinct to protect yourself. This is the story of Clara, a woman who was so addicted to being the light for others that she didn't realize she was burning her own house down to keep them warm. In cognitive psychology, Clara was trapped in a dopamine feedback loop where her brain released a massive hit of pleasure every time she self-sacrificed, effectively numbing her to the actual damage she was doing to her own life. The first psychological trigger at play is the savior's narcissism. This sounds like a contradiction, but it is a powerful force. When Clara helped someone, her ventral striatum, the brain's reward center, lit up, giving her a sense of power and moral superiority. She wasn't just being kind. She was subconsciously using others' crises to feel a sense of control that she lacked in her own life. This is a form of emotional displacement. By fixing a friend's broken relationship or paying a cousin's debt, she could avoid the terrifying silence of her own unresolved traumas. She was addicted to the identity of the essential, the belief that without her, everyone else would fall apart. This leads to the second hurdle, intermittent reinforcement. Because the people Clara helped would occasionally give her a thank you or a moment of genuine connection, her brain stayed hooked. In behavioral psychology, this is the same mechanism that keeps people playing slot machines. If the reward were constant, she would get bored. Because the reward, gratitude, was rare and unpredictable, she worked 10 times harder to get it. She was being socially engineered by the very people she thought she was saving. They didn't even have to try. Her own brain's chemistry was doing the work for them, turning her kindness into a prison. The turning point for Clara came when she encountered the ostrich effect. She had spent years sticking her head in the sand, ignoring her mounting debts, her failing health, and her own loneliness, all under the guise of being there for others. She realized that her kindness wasn't a bridge, it was an escape hatch. She had to face the cost-benefit paradox. Every hour she spent healing someone who didn't want to change was an hour she stole from her own future. She was suffering from decision fatigue, making poor choices for herself. Because she had spent all her mental energy solving problems for people who were perfectly capable of solving them themselves. To break the cycle, Clara had to implement the oxygen mask protocol. This is the psychological practice of calculated compassion. She learned that if she didn't secure her own stability first, her kindness was actually a liability to the people she loved. She moved from being an enabler to being an example. She stopped giving people fish and started showing them how to build their own boats. In social psychology, this is the shift from symbiotic dependency to autonomy support. The lesson is this: your brain can trick you into thinking that suffering for others is the same as loving them. It isn't. True kindness is a choice made from a position of strength, not a compulsion made from a position of emptiness. If your goodness leaves you depleted, it isn't goodness, it's a debt you're paying to a ghost. Stop sacrificing your future for people who are only using your light to find their own way away from you. Value your energy, protect your peace, and remember that the most kind thing you can ever do is to be a person who is whole enough to actually be worth knowing.